Spirit of Texas, Unit 3, The Meat. Native Americans were careful to use every part of the buffalo's body. Of course, the meat was probably the most important part of all. It provided protein and sustenance to keep the tribe members alive. The tongue was usually the first part to be eaten. This was followed by other internal organs, including the kidneys, intestines, liver, and even the hump. The blood was made into a soup, and the bones boiled for their grease. The rest of the flesh was prepared in several ways. Some meat was dried in strips. This created a light, preserved, and long-lasting food for years to come. Another version of preserved buffalo was called pemmican. Once the meat was dried, the woman would pound it into a floury powder. It was placed in a rawhide bag, sometimes along with dried berries, and covered with hot buffalo fat to help preserve the contents. The bag was sealed by removing all of the air. Uses for the rest of the buffalo's body. Once the meat was retrieved, it was time to harvest the rest of the animal's body for additional uses. Of course, the hides, that is, the skin of the buffalo, was turned into leather. This leather could be cut and sewn into everything from clothes to teepee covers, and from saddles to bags. When the hunt occurred during the fall or winter, the thicker fur was often used to create moccasins, gloves, and robes. The tribal women would take the hide, stretch and stake it to the ground, and then use flint or bone to scrape off the outer flesh. If the skin was to be used for leather, the fur was removed as well. The resulting raw hide was very strong and fashioned for items such as boats, shields, and cradles. With more processing, softer leather could be turned into teepees and clothing. A mixture of buffalo fat, brains, and liver was rubbed on the skin and then dried by the sun. The leather used for clothing would be smoked as it was prepared to be cut and sewed. The buffalo's tail made an excellent fly swatter, as well as a tool to flick water on hot rocks in the sweat lodges. Horns were utilized as ladles, spoons, cups, and headdresses, and the animal's hooves were fashioned into rattles, doorbell-like chains for teepee entrances, and boiled for glue. Sleds were created from the ribs of buffalo, and shoulder blades could become garden hoes. Other bones were turned into war clubs, pipes, knife handles, and dog sled runners. The tendons were used as rope and thread. The stomach and bladder could be dried to become a water carrier. Even dung had a use. The dried buffalo chips provided an excellent fuel for the campfire. Successful hunters were able to exchange their buffalo hides with fur traders for needed goods, such as guns, cooking utensils, and clothing. The buffalo also served as food, clothing, and tools for fellow tribal members.